Alright, so right here I have the Amazfit GTR 4 and the Amazfit Balance, which some call the unofficial Amazfit GTR 5. And today we will check out both of these watches and see how they look on my wrist and off of my wrist. We will of course go over all of the specs and the lug-to-lug size and how much we actually see on those two watches. I mean, both watches have a 46mm case, but on the Balance you get a 1.5-inch display, and on the GTR 4 just a 1.43-inch display. But we will cover all of this a little bit later on in the video, and for now let's start with the pricing. Now if we check out the Amazfit online store, we see that the Amazfit Balance comes in at a price of 250 euros, whereas the Amazfit GTR 4 only costs 230 over here in Germany, which is still a little bit much since this watch is already over a year old. But I did some more researches and found better prices on other online stores, so you can actually get it already for about 180, which makes it now a 70 euros difference. By the way, I will leave the links to the product down below in the description. So now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at them on my wrist and off my wrist. So right here I have the two different watches, and you can tell the difference by looking at it from afar. Not so good. I mean, they have both a 46mm case. Now, if you look a little bit closer, you can see the differences in the color of the bezel and the case. The one you have on the Balance is a matte dark gray color, and on the GTR 4 you got more of a polished silver case. Also, the buttons on these two watches are different. The buttons on the Amazfit Balance are a little bit larger, and the lower one is more embedded into the case. On the GTR 4, they are a little bit smaller, plus you get a red dot in your upper button, which is, by the way, also easier to rotate. In general, you can say those two watches are for people who like large smartwatches, as both of them basically cover my whole wrist. I barely get any spare room on the top or lower end of the watch. You also really feel those two watches during the night or during your workouts, but the Amazfit Balance is a little bit more comfortable because of the strap. So right here you have a fluid silicone strap, which is a much softer material than just the normal silicone that you have on the GTR 4. Plus it is a little bit sturdier. At least that's what it feels like. Both bands are 22mm wide and have the exact same length, which you can see pretty good if you put both of them next to each other. As for the colors, you get a few more options if you go with the Amazfit Balance. Right here we got 6 different ones. There is a brown style, you can get it with a blue strap, dark green, turquoise, black and gray, which has a fabric strap. You can get the GTR 4 in the colors black, gray, which has a fabric strap once again, and with a brown leather strap. Now just right for the context, I have a 19cm wrist, which is about 7.5 inches, and I really think those two watches are at the upper end of size, which fits my wrist. A little bit bigger and it would be too big for me. If you have a smaller wrist than mine, you should really think twice before you're getting one of those watches. Now, if you like large watches, just forget what I just mentioned. So before we get over to the display, let's talk about some of the specs. The Amazfit Balance weighs in at 35 grams without a strap and has a 1.5-inch AMOLED touch display. Now the GTR 4 is a little bit smaller with a 1.43-inch AMOLED display and weighs in at 34 grams. Also, as for the lug-to-lug size, both watches are identical with 52mm. Alright, now over to the display, and this might be a little disappointing to some, but the amount of information that you get on those two watches is the same. If you get text messages or emails, they are the same size, and you get on both the same amount of words. All the health applications are the same with no differences whatsoever, and even in the settings you won't find any differences. The only thing that I noticed is that you may have a slightly bigger text size on the Amazfit Balance, which means if you could scale this down, you'll probably have more text on the Balance, but you can't change the text size or the font style. And guys, there we have it. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more tech reviews. And I guess with that one being said, peace.